Whilst we eagerly await news on Jurassic Park 7, Jurassic World 4, Jurassic City, no wait, Jurassic Saga, nobody has any clue what this film is going to be called, so let's all stop freaking out about it until we get an official title reveal. That last one's a little bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Between Jurassic Nobody Has Any Clue Stop Freaking Out and Chaos Theory, Jurassic Park Survival has gone a little bit quiet lately. The upcoming survival adventure game, taking place the day after the events of the original Jurassic Park, really was a breath of fresh air when first announced. Finally, not only do we get a non-park builder Jurassic game again after the relatively scant offerings of Aftermath and checks those, Jurassic Park Trespasser, but it's Jurassic Park themed, it's not Jurassic World. Immense hype ensues, internet loses its mind a little bit, but it's justified. The franchise has a long history of survival games getting cancelled before they see the full light of day. This will be the third attempt. But this one's got an awesome trailer, and we've had gameplay revealed, so it's going to happen, right? Right? Well, maybe. Maybe not. Uh-oh. So, backstory. Embracer Group is a Swedish media holding company established in 2019. In reality, they've been around for a lot longer, but under the name Nordic Games. The same Nordic Games who acquired my beloved THQ back in 2013. Well, not content with that, Embracer Group went a little bit crazy in 2019 under the guidance of a new CEO, Lars Wingefors, and bought basically every single game developer and game property they could get their hands on. From Gearbox of Borderlands fame to multiple famous Square Enix properties like Tomb Raider 2, pertinently for this video, Saber Interactive. Now Saber Interactive are themselves a pretty big group, consisting of 6 different dev divisions across Europe and owning a huge bunch of subsidiaries they've hoovered up over the years. They were developing a number of much hyped upcoming titles, from Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, a title I'm definitely excited about myself because Tyranids basically, and the hugely anticipated remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a game that's been in development hell for absolutely years now. To the most relevant of course, Jurassic Park Survival. Now I can't find information for which Saber studio is developing Survival, but given it's a large IP project, it's safe to say it's probably a pretty large dev team, especially because Saber has currently over 2,000 employees. So that's the backstory, that's who's making the game. What's the problem? Well, the problem is Embracer Group is a disaster. Embracer had a $2 billion investment deal planned with a Saudi investment group called Savvy Games, terrible name, but the deal fell through in August of last year, and Embracer almost immediately announced a huge swathe of cost-cutting measures. Firstly, Campfire Cabal, Volition, and then Free Radical Studios were all announced to be closed. That last one really hurts. Not only that, but they then went on to lay off over 1,400 people across their studios. And this was successful, I suppose? Embracer Group had debt of $2 billion before they began their cost cutting, and after making over 1,400 people jobless, they ended up with a debt of $1.5 billion. Clearly more had to be done. So just this week, news has emerged that Embracer Group is going to sell some of its studios. Gearbox Software is one of the first to go, being sold off to private investors who were unsure. The same is true for Saber Interactive, with a Bloomberg article revealing just yesterday that the group was to be sold off to private investors for an amount totaling up to $500 million, $25 million less than Embracer paid for the group a few years ago. So far we know only one thing for sure based on the Bloomberg reporting: Saber Interactive is going to keep developing the Knights of the Old Republic remake. That's the only game we know is going to continue in development for sure. It's been in development for many years now, it's actually passed from one Embracer developer to the other, from Aspia over to Saber, and it's almost definitely the most anticipated and the most likely to sell well title that they've got. That makes a lot of sense. What isn't guaranteed is absolutely everything else. It is worth mentioning, this isn't necessarily doom and gloom. Jurassic Park Survival could absolutely, well, survive this transition. We just don't know yet. The problem is twofold though. Now typically when a large company acquires a new property, there's staff layoffs and budget cuts. There's rather inevitably budgetary people involved who move to make the company as lean and mean as possible, and game development history is absolutely littered with independent studios that were bought up and then pretty quickly absolutely annihilated. Secondly, if you haven't noticed, game studios are kinda going through a hell of a reckoning right now. A huge number of people are unfortunately being laid off across the entire industry, and it's not just smaller studios. Huge developers like Guerrilla and Insomniac, creators of some of the best-selling and most hugely successful games of recent years, are letting go a massive number of talented people. Sony shuttered an entire London studio just this week. The games industry continues to make more and more money. I believe it made 4% more year on year this time around, and CEOs' pockets continue to bulge further and further out, and yet a cavalcade of workers are being left by the wayside. In my view, it is unfortunately unrealistic to expect Saber Interactive to escape such measures when brought under new leadership. Microsoft basically only just bought Activision Blizzard, and they've already fired over 1,900 employees. Knights of the Old Republic is fine, and I imagine Space Marine 2 with the upcoming release date only 6 months away, probably fine as well. But everything else? Jurassic Park Survival? We just don't know. It's a huge period of uncertainty and we'll need to wait for more news. We haven't heard anything about the game in several months now, ever since that initial trailer was posted, so I'm expecting some short fingernails from now until more news arrives. We just need some hint that the game is continuing to be developed. Now, I don't mean this to be an overtly negative video, I know it has been. My aim here really is just to inform, to prepare, not to spread doom and gloom. We all hope the game survives the transition. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter though talking about this who aren't that optimistic, and there just aren't any guarantees at this point in time. I think we've all just been burned one too many times in the past. Hopefully more information will emerge soon and we'll know if it's time to overreact or not, basically. All that said, as a closing note, as much as it really would suck if Jurassic Park Survival doesn't survive, I really can't keep doing that, we've got to keep in mind the human cost is much, much higher for all of this. Thousands upon thousands of people are losing their jobs right now and are likely, understandably, very fearful for their futures. And that is, and always will be, far more important than whether we get a cool video game to play. So spare a moment for them, and then maybe lay down some prayers to Raptor Jesus. Hopefully we don't need them.
Road.